Hello. Today we're going to go over dividing polynomials. We've done a lot of things with multiplying polynomials where we FOILed or distributed. We added polynomials where we combined like terms and subtracted them. Dividing polynomials, there's two ways we can divide them. The first way is long division. It can be very lengthy and can be a little complicated, but it's really just like long division with regular numbers, except now you have variables. Now, long division works for all polynomials. Okay? Long division works for when you're dividing all polynomials. The second way is synthetic division. Synthetic division is very much like synthetic substitution, but there is one fallback. It only works if we're dividing by a binomial. It makes things a lot easier when we're dividing, but like I said, it only works if we're dividing that polynomial by a binomial. So say like x plus 2 or x minus 10. It won't work for if we have x squared plus 3x minus 5. Alright, long division. I'm just going to do one example and show you. Long division, what we do is we write our numbers. Okay, our polynomial that we are going to divide, and we're going to divide it by our divisor, x minus 2. Now first, I have to think, how many times does x go into x to the third? Well, it goes in, we need one more, so I'd have x squared. Because x squared times x is x to the third. X squared times negative 2 is negative 2x squared. So all I've done is I found how many times our first term here goes into our first term here. And I need two x's, so I need x squared to go into it. Now, I have to change my signs in those, and now I can combine them because I want these to cancel out. Those add up to 0. So I'd have 7x squared minus 7x, because I need to bring down this negative 7x. Now, how many times does x go into negative 7x? I'm sorry, 7x right here. So we need at least one x, and it goes in there 7 times. So 7x times x is 7x squared. 7x times negative 2 is negative 14x. Now I can combine these, change my signs. These will cancel out. These add up to 7x. Bring this down, I have positive 2. Now how many times does x go into 7x? You don't need any x's, but it goes into it 7 times. So 7 times x is 7x. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. So now I need to combine these, so I change my signs. So this is my remainder of 16. Remember, that last number is always your remainder. So what we're going to do, we're going to take 16. So we'll do plus 16 and put it over the number we divided by, x minus 2. There would be our polynomial when we divide. Stop at any time, go over. If you want to, rewind and start at, see that again, that's fine. Alright, this next one is synthetic division. Now we're going to do the exact same problem that we did in that last one. Okay, so I'm going to have x to the third plus 5x squared minus 7x plus 2. Now, just like synthetic substitution, do I have all of our terms? Well, if I start with my highest exponent, 3, 2, well, this is a 1, that's 0. So yes, I have them all. So I'm just going to take my coefficients, 1, 5, -7, and 2. And now I'm dividing it by x minus 2, but we want to know when we're evaluating it. So we have to set it equal to 0 and solve it. So I'm going to evaluate this when x equals 2. So now you bring down your first term. So I bring down the 1, multiply it by the number outside 2. I get 2. Combine these, 5 plus 2 is 7. Take that and multiply it by 2. You get 14. -7 plus 14, or 14 minus 7 is 7. Multiply that times 2. You get 14, and combine these, you get 16. Now synthetic substitution, this last number, that was our answer if we had evaluated. Well, this last number is going to be our remainder. This is our constant term, does not get an x. This is our linear term, gets an x to the first. This is our quadratic term, gets x squared. And one way you can always tell is that your answer of your polynomial is going to be 1 less than your first exponent, your highest exponent, so x squared. So now all I need to do is write my answer, x squared plus 7x plus 7 plus my remainder over what I divided it by, x minus 2. So now if we compare that to our last, the last problem that we did with long division, x squared plus 7x plus 7 plus 16 over x minus 2. Let's look at our answer. X squared plus 7x plus 7 plus 16 over x minus 2. Same exact thing. But like I said, it only works for binomials when we're dividing it by a binomial. So this next one, first you have all your terms, 2, 1, 0, yes, so 2, -7, and 10. Now we're going to evaluate this by x minus 5, so I have to set it equal to 0 and solve. So I'd add 5, so I have x equals 5. So now bring your first term down, multiply it by the number outside. 2 times 5 is 10. Combine these terms, 10 minus 7 is 3. Multiplied by 5 is 15. Combine those, you get 25. That last number is your remainder. This is your constant term. This is your linear term. So I'd have 2x plus 3 plus 25 over whatever I divided by, x minus 5. We're using the binomial. Okay, let's look at the next one. So this one, 3n to the third, 11n squared, plus 4n plus 1. Do you have all your terms? 3, 2, 1, 0, yes. So 3, 11, 4, and 1. Now I'm going to evaluate this when n minus 1, so I have to add 1 to both sides, so I'd evaluate it when it's a 1. Bring down your first term. 3 times 1 is 3. Combine these, you have 14. Multiply it by the number outside. 14 combined, 14 plus 4 is 18. Multiply, you get 18. That last number is your remainder. Here's your constant term, so no x. Linear term, so an x. Quadratic term, so x squared. Remember, your highest exponent is always 1 less than your answer, or than your number you're dividing. So it's plus 18 plus 19 over n minus 1. Alright, let's look at this next one. First, do you have all your terms? 3, 2, 0. No, which one are you? You're missing a term. You're missing your x to the first, your linear term. So just like with synthetic substitution, we have to put in a 0 for its place. Okay, we can't just skip it because that term is actually there. It's actually a 0. We're going to evaluate this when x equals 4. So we added 4 to both sides. So say you're missing multiple terms, then you got to put zeros in those places. So bring down the 1, multiply it by 4. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Combine those, you get negative 12. Multiply, you get negative 48. And our last number is negative 50. The last term is our remainder. Here's our constant term, so no x. Here's our linear term. Here's our quadratic term. Okay. Now, say for instance, let's look at this problem. Say instead, whatever number we had, say this was a whatever we multiplied, we got a positive 7 here. Okay, instead of a 4. Those would add up to 0. So, say I get a 0 down here in my terms, I would still do the same thing. This is my remainder. This is my constant term, so no x. This is my linear term, so this gets an x. This is my quadratic term. So my answer for that would be x squared minus 12 plus negative 50 over x minus 4. We don't need to include it in our answer because it's a 0, so it's not going to change anything. But don't just skip over this and say this would be, don't just skip over it since it's a 0 and make this your x. This still gets an x, or whatever your constant, linear, cubic, or quartic term. Okay? Alright, that should be enough examples going over synthetic division. Okay? Remember, synthetic division works for only when we're dividing it by a binomial. So, like this, x minus 4. It would not work for x squared plus 3x minus 7, something like that. Okay? Alright, well, have a good day.